Welcome to What Dwells Beneath, a true crime and paranormal podcast brought to you by me, your host, Perzival, and our dedicated producer, Neku. Each episode dives deep into stories that defy explanation and beg for answers, from unsolved disappearances to eerie encounters with the unknown. We uncover the hidden truths behind these compelling tales. Tonight, we take you on a journey into one of the most mysterious cases in Northern California's history, the vanishing of the Yuba County Five. It's a story that begins with an innocent road trip on a winter's night, but spirals into a web of intrigue and horror that has baffled investigators for decades. On a cold February night in 1978, five friends drove off to watch a basketball game and vanished into the snowy wilderness of Northern California. Four would be found dead under bizarre circumstances, and one remains missing to this day. What happened to the Yuba County Five? In this episode, we'll unravel the strange twists and turns that mark this case: a car abandoned in the middle of nowhere, food left uneaten in a forsaken trailer, and the chilling detail of a man who remains missing to this day. We'll dive into the timeline of events, examine the eerie circumstances of their discovery, and ponder the haunting theories that seek to explain their fate. Stay with us as we explore the haunting mystery of the Yuba County Five. From initial disappearance to the harrowing discovery of the bodies and the lingering question that remains unanswered, we will leave no stone unturned. So get comfortable, dim the lights, and prepare yourself for a journey into the unknown. This is What Dwells Beneath, where true crime meets paranormal and the unexplained waits to be discovered. Let's start at the beginning, with five ordinary guys who loved basketball. On the evening of February 24th, 1978, five friends set out for what should have been a simple trip. Gary Mathis, Jack Madruga, Ted Weyer, Bill Sterling, and Jackie Hewitt were known in their community as the Yuba County Five. All hailing from Yuba City, or Marysville, California, they were not just friends, but teammates on the Gateway Gators basketball team, a squad specifically for people with mild intellectual disabilities or psychiatric conditions. These men shared a special bond, solidified by their mutual love for basketball. It was more than just a sport for them. It was a way to connect, to support each other, and to find joy in their daily lives. Each one of them brought something unique to the group. Gary Mathis, for example, who was 25. He was the youngest, despite his struggles with schizophrenia, which he managed with medication. Gary was known for his enthusiasm and energy. He had served in the U.S. Army, but was discharged due to his condition. His resilience and determination to live life to the fullest despite his challenges were admired by his friends and family. Jack Madruga, who was 30, was the driver of the group. He had previously served in the U.S. Army and was an experienced driver, which is why he was often behind the wheel when the group went out. Jack was gentle and dependable, always ready to lend a hand. Ted Weyer, 32, was known for his heart of gold. He was deeply caring and would do anything for his friends. Despite his intellectual challenges, Ted was a hard worker, always eager to participate in community activities and support his loved ones. Bill Sterling, 29, was quiet and thoughtful. He loved reading and spent much of his time volunteering at the local library, where he read to children. Bill was a compassionate soul who found solace in helping others and in the company of his friends. Jackie Hewitt, 24, was the most spirited of the group. His personality was contagious, and he had a knack for lifting everyone's spirits. Jackie adored playing basketball and was thrilled about the upcoming Special Olympics tournament. Together, these five men were known as the Boys. They lived with their families who supported them in their daily lives and took pride in their achievements. On this particular night, the Boys were excited about a special event. Their beloved UC Davis basketball team was playing against Chico State, and they had been eagerly anticipating the game. The plan was simple: drive the 50 miles to Chico, enjoy the game, and return home. As they climbed into Jack's 1969 Mercury Montego, their spirits were high. They chatted excitedly about the game, their plans for the weekend, and the upcoming Special Olympics tournament in which they were set to compete. For the boys, These moments were filled with joy and camaraderie, a testament to the bond they shared. The drive to Chico was uneventful. The boys reached the university, watched the game, and enjoyed themselves thoroughly. But as the final whistle blew and they started their journey back home, something went horribly wrong. The events that unfolded next would plunge their families into a nightmare and leave investigators grappling with a baffling mystery that remains unsolved to this day. The night was cold and the air was thick with promise of an impending storm. Yet the boys, fueled by excitement of the game, were undeterred. They had done this drive many times before, and with Jack behind the wheel, they felt safe and confident. As they set off into the darkness, no one could have predicted the tragedy that awaited them. Their car would later be found abandoned deep into the Plumas National Forest, far off their intended route. The discovery of the car marked the beginning of a relentless search, one that would uncover more questions than answers and lead to a series of eerie and inexplainable findings. A lot of the things that happened that night is unknown, but this is the timeline we were able to piece together. The evening of February 24th, 1978 was supposed to be just another fun outing for the Yuba County Five. They were thrilled to watch the UC Davis basketball team take on Chico State, a game they had been eagerly anticipating. As they settled into their seats at the university gym, the atmosphere was electric. The crowd cheered, the teams battled it out on the court, and for a few hours, the five friends were absorbed into the thrilling spectacle of college basketball. The game ended around 10 p.m., and the boys were spotted by various witnesses, including local newspaper editor who recalled seeing them in high spirits as they left the gym. The next stop was Bear Market in Chico, where they picked up some snacks for the drive home. According to the cashier, the group bought a selection of treats including Pepsi, milk, pies, and candy bars. This stop at Bear's Market would be their last confirmed sighting. Their intended route home was straightforward, an hour-long back to Yuba City via Highway 70 or Route 99. It was a familiar route for Jack, who was driving that night. An experienced driver had driven this path numerous times and he knew it well. As the boys set off for their journey home, the night was cold, and a sense of calm likely settled over them. The excitement of the game lingered in the air, and they chatted about their plans for the upcoming Special Olympics tournament. Everything seemed normal, yet something inexplainable happened that night on the drive home. The boys never made it back to Yuba City. The next morning, February 25th, the families of the five friends grew increasingly worried when the boys failed to show up for the 8 a.m. meetup for the Special Olympics. This was highly unusual for the tight-knit group, who rarely missed such important events. The parents started calling each other, hoping that the boys had made it to one of their homes. But as the hours ticked by, with no words from any of them, their concern turned into a deep sense of dread. The families began searching locally, driving along the usual routes the boys would take, and checking with friends and acquaintances. They retraced their steps to the Chico State campus and even stopped by Bear's Market, hoping for any clue or sign of the boys. But their efforts yielded nothing. It was as if the Yuba County Five had vanished into thin air. Desperate and fearing the worst, the families reported the boys missing to the police on February 25th. The authorities launched an investigation, but the initial search provided few leads. As news of the disappearance spread, the community rallied together, hoping and praying for the safe return of the five friends. The police began piecing together the timeline of the boys' last known movements, starting with their attendance at the basketball game and their stop at Bear's Market. Investigators confirmed that the boys left Chico around 10 p.m. and should have arrived home within the hour. However, their car was found miles away from the expected route, deep in the Plumas National Forest, stuck in the snow on a deserted mountain road. This discovery was as puzzling as it was alarming. The Mercury Montego, driven by Jack, was in good working order. There was no sign of foul play, and the car had enough gas to make the journey back to Yuba City. Yet, it had been abandoned in an area that made no sense, given their intended route. The Plumas National Forest was not only far from their usual path, but it was also a treacherous terrain to navigate on a cold winter night. Inside the car, the police found maps of California neatly folded in the glove compartment, indicating that the boys had been somewhat prepared for their journey. The snacks they had purchased at Bear's Market were also found partially consumed, suggesting that they had been in the car for some time after leaving Chico. However, the boys were nowhere to be found. The discovery of the car in such an unexpected location raised more questions than answers. Why had the boys deviated so drastically from the route home? What led them into the remote wilderness of the Plumas National Forest? And most importantly, where are they now? As search efforts intensified, the mystery deepened. The authorities, along with search and rescue teams, scoured the surrounding areas, battling harsh weather conditions and difficult terrain. They called in helicopters, tracking dogs, and volunteers to aid in the search, but there was still no trace of the 5 friends. The tension and fear among the families and community grew with each passing day. The more they searched, the more perplexing the case became. It was as if the boys had simply vanished into the wilderness, leaving behind only the abandoned car as a haunting reminder of their last known moments. So where did they go? The answer starts with a car stuck in the snow. The evening of February 28, 1978, brought a breakthrough in the search for the Yuba County 5. Jack Madruga's beloved 1969 Mercury Montego was discovered abandoned in the Plumas National Forest 70 miles from Chico on a remote and treacherous mountain road known as Orville-Quincy Road. This discovery marked the beginning of a perplexing investigation that would leave both authorities and the families of the missing men grasping for answers. The car's location alone was enough to send chills down everyone's spine. The vehicle, in good working order, was found stuck in the shallow snow, just 5 to 6 inches deep. This was peculiar since the depth of the snow was not significant enough to truly immobilize the car. The keys were missing, the windows were rolled down, and the interior was undisturbed. Inside the car, investigators found the remains of snacks the boys had purchased, partially eaten pies, empty candy wrappers, and half-consumed bottles of Pepsi and milk. But there were no signs of a struggle or any indication of foul play. For those who knew Jack, the discovery of the car in this remote location was baffling and deeply troubling. He cherished his car. It was his pride and joy, and he took meticulous care of it. His family knew that he would avoid rough and unfamiliar roads, preferring well-traveled routes. The fact that his car was found so far from the expected path was an anomaly that defied explanation. The initial search efforts were swift and extensive, all starting at that car. But just as the search seemed to gain momentum, nature intervened with a cruel twist. A blizzard swept through the region, blanketing the area with an additional 9 inches of snow. The already difficult search conditions became nearly impossible. The snow blanket practically wiped everything clean, from tracks or clues that might have led to the boys, and the search had to be temporarily halted. The blizzard effectively erased any potential evidence, adding another layer of frustration to the investigation. The families of the Yuba County 5 were plunged into an agonizing limbo. As days turned into weeks, their hope of a miraculous discovery dimmed. The forest seemed to swallow the boys whole, and the mystery of the disappearance grew ever darker. Theories began to circulate, each one more unsettling than the last. Some speculated that the boys had fallen victim to foul play, while others believed they had simply become disoriented in the snow and succumbed to the harsh conditions. Yet, none of these theories could fully explain the eerie sequence of events that had led them so far from home. When the search was able to continue, a new lead emerged. A witness who claimed to have seen something unusual that night the boys disappeared. This sighting would add yet another twist to the already perplexing case, hinting at the possibility of a dark and sinister turn in the boys' tragic story. The night that the Yuba County 5 vanished into the frigid wilderness, another man found himself in a dire situation nearby. Joseph Scones, a 55-year-old resident of Sacramento, was driving his Volkswagen Beetle up the same remote mountain road when he found himself stuck in the snow near Rogers Cow Camp, just 6 miles from the location where the Montego would eventually be discovered. Joseph's night took a terrifying turn when he began experiencing severe chest pains, soon realizing he was having a heart attack. Alone and stranded in the snowy darkness, Scones faced a desperate struggle for survival. It was during these harrowing hours that he claimed to witness something that would later add a twist to the already puzzling case of the Yuba County Five. According to Scones, as he lay in agony in his car, he saw headlights approaching in the distance. The lights grew closer, revealing a group of men and, strangely, a woman holding a baby. Scones, desperate for help, called out to the group, but his pleas were met with an eerie silence. He could hear whistling and saw flashlights moving about, yet no one responded to his cries. Throughout the night, Scones drifted in and out of consciousness. Each time, he was hoping that the figures he saw would come to his aid, but they never did. Instead, he lay there, helpless as the night wore on. At one point, Scones claimed to hear a vehicle engine start and see headlights move away, leaving him once again in the darkness. As dawn broke, Scones mustered the strength to leave his car and walk the 8 miles to Mountain House, a nearby lodge, for help. Along the way, he passed the abandoned Mercury Montego, noting his presence but unable to investigate further due to his dire condition. He eventually made it to the lodge, where he received the medical attention he desperately needed. Scones' account of that night added a perplexing layer to the investigation. The description of the group of men and the presence of a woman with a baby was both intriguing and baffling. Could this have been the Yuba County Five, along with an unknown woman and child? Or was it a separate group entirely? Some speculated that Scones' experience could have been hallucinations brought on by the pain and stress of his heart attack. Others believed his account provided a crucial, cryptic clue to the boy's fate. The police took Scones' testimony seriously, but remained cautious about his implications. His story was difficult to verify, given the remote location and the lack of corroborating witnesses. The possibility of hallucinations due to his medical condition cannot be dismissed, yet the details he provided was hauntingly specific. The encounter, described by Scones, deepened the mystery surrounding the disappearance of the Yuba County Five. It hinted at the potential presence of other individuals in the area that night, raising questions about who they were and what role, if any, they played in the boy's fate. The chilling silence of the figures, their apparent disregard for Scones' desperate calls for help, and the unexplained movement of the flashlights all contributed to a sense of unease. As the search continued, investigators weighed Scones' account against the other evidence they had gathered. The bizarre location of the Montego's location, the lack of tracks in the snow, and the eerie details of Scones' encounter painted an unsettling picture. The more they probed, the more the case seemed to slip through their fingers, defying logical explanation. Scones' tale is just the start of the weirdness. Months later, the snow melted, and the truth got darker. The mystery took a grim turn on June 4th, 1978, when motorcyclists stumbled upon a haunting discovery in the remote wilderness of the National Forest. Their ride through the rugged terrain led them to a Forest Service trailer, 19.4 miles away from the abandoned vehicle. Inside the trailer lay the body of Ted Weyer, one of the Yuba County Five. This marked the beginning of a series of disturbing and tragic findings. Ted's condition was a heartbreaking sight. Once a robust man weighing around 200 pounds, Ted had withered away to a mere 100. He was wrapped in several layers of sheets, a makeshift attempt to keep warm in the freezing temperatures. The coroner later determined that Ted had been dead for 8 to 13 weeks, succumbing to a combination of starvation and hypothermia. His feet were frostbitten and his beard had grown considerably, indicating they had survived for a significant period after the initial disappearance. What made Ted's death even more confusing were the strange details surrounding the trailer. It was stocked with a substantial amount of food, including untouched sea rations, military surplus meals that could have sustained him. Additionally, a heavy locker filled with dehydrated meals remained unopened, and there was a heat source, a butane tank that had gone unused. These resources could have meant the difference between life and death for Ted, yet they were untouched. Even more mysterious was the presence of Gary Mathis's shoes in the trailer, but no sign of Gary himself. The placement of the shoes suggested that Gary had been there, raising questions about where he had gone and why he had left his shoes behind. The scene inside the trailer was both puzzling and deeply unsettling, hinting at a desperate struggle for survival amid baffling choices. In the days following the discovery of Ted's body, the grim search continued. On June 5th to the 7th, searchers found the remains of Jack Madruga, Bill Sterling, and Jackie Hewitt scattered across the rugged landscape, 2 to 5 miles from the trailer. The elements and scavenging animals had taken a toll on the bodies, making identification a somber task. The coroner concluded that the men had died of exposure, succumbing to the harsh conditions of the wilderness. Jack Madruga's body was discovered near the road leading to the trailer, partially consumed by animals. Bill's remains were found not far from Jack's. It, too, was also ravaged by the elements and wildlife. Jackie Hewitt's body laid further from the trailer, adding to the eerie pattern of scattered remains. The discovery of the bodies raised even more questions. Why had the men wandered so far from the car and the trailer? What had driven them into the wilderness, leading to such tragic ends? The absence of Gary Mathis added another layer of mystery to the case. While his shoes were found in the trailer, there were no trace of him in the surrounding area. Searches continued, but Gary remained missing, his fate unknown. These dark details of the scene left investigators and the families of the Yuba County Five grappling with an ever-deepening sense of loss and confusion. The unsettling atmosphere of the forest seemed to close in around the search teams, amplifying the sense of tragedy that hung over the case. The quiet rustling of the trees and the distant call of the wildlife and the eerie stillness of the trailer painted a haunting picture of the boys' final days. The once close-knit group of friends had been torn apart by an unexplainable series of events, leaving behind a trail of questions and heartbreak. As the days passed, the stories of the Yuba County Five became a chilling reminder of how fragile life can be and the unfathomable mysteries that lurk in the shadows. The discovery of the bodies provided some closure to the families, but it was a bitter and incomplete resolution. The full story of what happened to the boys remained elusive, shrouded in the silence of the forest. The findings left a lasting impact on the community, as people struggled to make sense of the tragedy. Theories and speculations started to make their way to the surface, each one trying to piece together the fragments of the boys' final moments. But the truth remained out of reach, hidden somewhere in the dense wilderness that had claimed their lives. 4 bodies, 1 missing. What happened up there? Let's explore the theories. One of the most accepted theories is that the Yuba County Five got lost in the snow, took a wrong turn, and panicked. The area around the National Forest is known for the treacherous terrain, and it's possible that the boys took a detour, perhaps towards Forbestown, and became disoriented. The car getting stuck in the snow, despite being in good working condition, might have added to their panic. Faced with the freezing temperatures and growing sense of helplessness, the boys could have decided to abandon the car and try to find help on foot. Ted Ware's survival for up to 3 months in the Forest Service trailer indicates that at least one of them managed to find temporary shelter. However, the unexplainable decision to leave food and other resources untouched suggests a lack of survival instincts or perhaps a state of confusion and despair. The group's disabilities may have played a role in their inability to make rational decisions under such extreme conditions. However, the families of the Yuba County Five have long harbored suspicions of foul play, believing that their loved ones were coerced or forced into the remote wilderness. This theory gained traction with the account of Joseph Scones, who claimed to have seen a group of men and possibly a woman with a baby near the location where the car was found. Scones' pleas for help were ignored, adding an unsettling dimension to his story. Additionally, a sighting in Brownsville on March 3, 1978, by a local woman and her son mentioned seeing the boys in a red pickup truck. This sighting suggested the involvement of outsiders who might have led the boys astray or coerced them into a dangerous situation. The possibility of foul play raises disturbing questions about who these outsiders were and what their motives might have been. Another theory focuses on Gary Mathis, one of the 5 friends, who had a history of schizophrenia, a condition he managed with medication. While some have speculated that his condition may have played a role in the group's actions, it's essential to note that Gary had no history of violence or erratic behavior. His shoes were found in the trailer, but his body was never discovered. This has led to various theories about Gary's fate. Did he leave the group and succumb to the elements elsewhere, or was he taken by someone? The uncertainty surrounding Gary's role adds another layer of complexity to the case. But let's discuss the group dynamic. The group dynamics among the Yuba County Five also warrant consideration. Each member had unique challenges and strengths, which may have influenced their decisions. Ted's apparent lack of survival instinct, despite the availability of food and resources, raises questions about the group's ability to respond to the crisis effectively. The boys' intellectual disabilities and psychiatric conditions might have affected their judgment, leading them to make choices that are ultimately resulted in their demise. But these are just theories. What is the official stance? As of 2020, the Yuba County Sheriff's Office continues to classify the case as an open missing person and a homicide investigation. Despite decades of speculation and investigation, no definitive answers have emerged, and the official stance remains one of a cautious inquiry. Reflecting on the case of the Yuba County Five is a somber yet necessary journey. The aftermath of the mysterious disappearances and tragic deaths left a very dark and grim mark on not only the family, but the local community as well. The families of the Yuba County Five had endured an unimaginable grief. Mabel Madruga, the mother of one of the victims, states some force made them go up there, encapsulating the perplexity and sorrow that has plagued them. The sense of loss is compounded by the lack of closure. Only 4 of 5 men were found, with Gary Mathis still missing as of 2025. The uncertainty surrounding his fate has kept this case open, a painful reminder that answers may never fully come to light. This case has carved out a niche in the American cultural history, often referred to as the American Dyaltov Pass, which we plan on covering very soon. It has captured the imagination of many, leading to its features in various media, including podcasts like this one and the 2024 Netflix series Files of the Unexplained. The eerie parallels between the Yuba County Five and the infamous Dyaltov Pass incident in Russia have fueled endless speculation and intrigue. In recent years, there has been a shift in how society views and understands this case. Through a modern lens, we see increased compassion for disabilities and a keen awareness of the importance of oversight and care. The Yuba County Five, all of whom had mild intellectual disabilities or mental health challenges, are now seen as individuals who deserve better protection and support. The questions of oversight, why they ended up in such a situation, how they were cared for, and what could have been done differently, are central to current discussions. It is crucial to acknowledge the broader implications it has on our understandings of missing persons, mental health, and the responsibility of care. The Yuba County Five reminds us of the vulnerabilities that exist within our communities and the need for a compassionate approach to support those with disabilities. As we wrap up this episode, let's take a moment to reflect on the journey we had taken through the mystery of the Yuba County Five. These 5 men set out for a simple basketball game and found themselves at the heart of one of the most perplexing cases in American history. 4 lives tragically lost, 1 still unaccounted for, and the puzzle that remains unsolved after 47 years. Their story is a haunting reminder of how quickly the familiar can turn into the unexplainable. Now, we turn the spotlight to you, our listeners. What do you think happened to the Yuba County Five? Share your theories with us. If you're listening on Spotify, leave a comment in the comment section. And while you're at it, please consider rating us 5 stars and following the podcast. We'll also be adding a poll, so be sure to check out that as well. If you're listening on Apple, a 5-star rating and review would help our podcast tremendously. Don't forget to join our growing community on Discord. We're currently almost 2,400 members strong. If you're looking for more content from me, Perzival, be sure to visit our new website, taverndwellers.com. There, you'll be able to find my YouTube gaming content, my new blog, episodes of this podcast, and a link to our Discord. For those of you who are interested in submitting a personal encounter for our listener encounter episodes, the submission form can be found in our Discord. We aim for submissions of 1,000 words or more, but don't worry if yours is shorter. It'll find a place on our social media pages as short form content. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of What Dwells Beneath. Your continued support and enthusiasm drives us to keep exploring the unknown and uncovering the mysteries that lie just beneath the surface. A special thank you to our producer Neku for his incredible work in bringing this show to life and ensuring each episode is produced with care and dedication. Until next time, dear listeners, stay vigilant, stay curious, and remember, you never know what might be lurking just beyond the shadows. Keep your lights on and your eyes open, for the unknown is always closer than you think.